Well, how's it going today, folks? I'm Braap and welcome back to the Braap Shack. I don't know if we've had any real lawnmower videos on this channel yet, other than Frank and Mower. He's not really a mower, and I don't know, might have had a video or two on my actual mower, but we do lawnmower repair here. Well, I do, I suppose, me and you, and I usually don't film them, but this one is not just like normal. Oh, it doesn't run right or something. You know, this one's quite hurting. So let's take a look. That might need some attention. I think it's got a slow leak. Looks like maybe. The other issue I've noticed, that to me looks like a low cut. On this side it's even a little bit lower, but that's as high as she goes. When you put her down, she just lays flat on the fucking ground. The belt is off, so we'll have to adjust that. The other thing was the owner said that he did kind of start it, and it shoots really terrible black smoke, and I don't know where they got the idea from, but I hear tell of some diesel maybe having been in that gas tank. So we got to do a good once over on the carb and flush that tank. And look at that, dual fuel filters. I don't know. That's no good though. You don't need two goddamn fuel filters. If one's no good, take it off. The battery, I don't know. It's kind of almost charging. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. So we have a couple things to address on here. Might as well start with opening the air filter and whatnot. Take a look at all this shit. So I'm gonna quit yapping. I'm gonna get you set up somewhere. Anytime you're dealing with these small 4-stroke engines, always take a good look at how your governor arm and your throttle linkage and everything is hooked up, because these engines are meant to run in multiple configurations. So there could be 3 or 4 different ways to hook up the throttle and the governor and the choke. There could be multiple ways to hook it up, so you could just take it off not thinking about it and go to put it back together, and there's a bunch of different ways that you can put it back together. So just always pay attention to which configuration it was in. Pull off this fuel line. I'm 99% sure there's nothing in it. Oh, okay. Maybe there is something in it. There's nothing in the tank, so I don't know how there's something in that line, but There's a zip tie. No, not long enough. There's a zip tie down in the bottom of this tank. There we go. We're going to take out those two fuel filters. We're going to put in a pepcock and a fuel filter. Let's come over here. There's the fuel tank, cleaned. There's the zip tie that was in it. I just went out and I flushed it with some nice clean gas. And I did blow air through these lines too. I'm not just putting them back on there dirty. Well, that O-ring there has completely just turned to mush. That's unfortunate. New O-ring. A little big. Alrighty, well, I'm gonna go eat some supper, and then we'll throw this fucking thing back in there, and we'll see what happens. Well, let's see if we can get this tire seated. Plier handy. Valve stem at the bottom. Get ready to put the air to her. A little bit of good old brake clean. It's hard to get a good explosion with these little tires sometimes. There's not enough room for air in your That seated her. There's one problem fixed. I'm still investigating this deck. It seems like there's no adjustment to raise it up, and it's way too fucking low. So whenever I find something interesting with that, I'll flip this on and let you know. Well, right when I was in the middle of installing the carb, I heard my camera beep at me, which I thought was the beep it does when it's got 10% battery, but in fact it was a beep saying that it was done completely. The thing won't, screen's still kind of on, but kind of not. Won't turn all the way on, won't turn all the way off. I don't even know if that footage was any good that's on the card. So anyway, I got the carb back on, nice and clean. Got a new fuel filter and a pepcock, so you can shut the fuel off. Half tank clean gas. Checked spark and it had good spark. And then I gave it a tug on the rope, and the belt for the drive system is completely dragging, and I try and show you up underneath here, but you can't see shit at the moment. But both the belts, one of the belt, there's 3 belts in this thing, 2 for the drive system and 1 for the deck. The one for the deck, I don't know what's going on under there. It seems like it's a couple inches too short. And then the main belt for the drive system is completely all just fucking cobbled under there. It's all twisted and it's not routed properly. And the more I look at this thing, that I was told that it was purchased at an auction, you know, the more you can tell that this thing had a hard life, and somebody completely fucking cobbled it back together just to try and get it sold. I mean, that headlight's not meant for this machine. Look at those. Look at Robbie screws. Those are fucking good screws. Not even the right shape of fucking headlight. The belts are all cobbled. Most of the safeties are disconnected or broken. So yeah, this machine is it's kind of a hurting unit, but I told the owner I'd give it my best shot to get it fucking mowing. So I think what I'm gonna do I'm gonna pull off the back half, and that'll give us access to all the belts and everything, and we'll be able to see what the fuck we're doing. So I'm gonna, because I don't got my camera anymore, I'm recording with my iPhone. I'm gonna stop this recording here in a second, and I'll flip it back on when I get the ass end of this machine off. So yeah, talk at you in a few. Okay, so here's where we're at. Pulled the body off. Looks like a big job, but it's only like 6 bolts. Pulled the body off because we had absolutely no ticking, no nothing when we hit the key. After testing some wires, I found that out of all the safeties that were disconnected, there's 2, I believe. I think there was 2. There's one right there, little gray box. Another one right there, little gray box. Yeah, that guy. And that guy. Those guys, they have to be connected. They're right into the harness. And then once I connected those, I ended up with good strong spark. And then I found that this solenoid here, starter solenoid, this guy's toast. So I had one. So we got new solenoid, well, new used, good used one. And I hit the key for 1/4 of a second just to make sure it's gonna crank. I have not started this machine yet, and we're gonna try and do that now. So let's see what we can see here. Okay, so we still got good strong spark. Seems like maybe having a float bowl issue. So let's take a nice stiff screwdriver. That's a little better. Let's get the spark plug back in here and let's fucking see if she fires over. Okay, for the moment of truth, find out if this thing even runs. Should. Sure smoking. So she smokes a bit. I think the float is not sealing. So let's take a look at that. Give me a minute. Alrighty, well, I just pulled the valve cover pulled the carb off and left it hooked up to the fuel line here. Opened the pepcock, and sure enough, it was continuously leaking out. That means the float bowl was stuck, so I tapped on it till it stopped doing that. But while it was sitting here, leaking into the piston, and the piston's this way, right? So the fuel goes in, and it slowly leaps past the rings down into the crank, and it had filled up the crank up to about here, which is higher than the level of the valves. So as soon as I pulled the valve cover, all that gas mixed with oil come fucking spewing out of there. So we're gonna have to drop the oil, we're gonna check the valves, and then we'll fucking try this again. I'll flip the camera on and give you a peek when we're doing the valves, but right now I'm just gonna focus on trying to get this fucking nasty oil slurry shit out of here. So give me a second. Okay, so let's adjust these valves. So find top dead center. A lot of these Briggs engines, I'm just gonna say that this is one of them. You find top dead center, and then you go past it. Okay, so when you got your screwdriver there and you're holding it, you're watching it come out. See, as you spin it, piston is going to push your screwdriver out. When it gets to its highest point, that's top dead center. Now if you go around one time, there's two top dead centers. There's top dead center on the compression stroke and top dead center on the exhaust stroke. When you're at top dead center on the compression stroke, which is what you want, none of the valves, see how I can go back and forth, none of the valves are moving at all. Top dead center on the exhaust stroke, you're going to have the exhaust valve moving. Okay, so on your compression stroke, you come top dead center till your screwdriver's as far out as it will go, and you keep going till it goes back in about a 1/4 inch. There you go. Now you can check them. Now on these engines, sometimes people get confused because normally your intake valve is lined up with your intake and your exhaust valve lined up with your exhaust. But on this engine, you got intake, exhaust, and they're both lined up with the top valve. Now, there's all different types of opinions on this, but the simple fact is the top one is your intake valve. Bottom one's your exhaust. A lot of people set them the same. Simple fact is, intake valve should be 6/1000ths of an inch, and the exhaust should be 10. Well, the exhaust is 9 to 11, and the intake is 5 to 7. So, take your feeler gauge. Intakes, yeah, they're loose. So the intake should be 6/1000ths of an inch. That don't want to fit. So we have 5/8 wrench and the T20 Torx. What you're going to want to do is loosen the nut. And loosen the Torx. Stick your 6/1000ths in there. Tighten the nut. Loosen the Torx a little more. It's backwards from what you might think. The Torx is actually the cinch nut, or the locker. The 5/8 nut is actually your adjustment. Make sure you get in and out of there a couple times. And loosen them off just from here. be able to slide it in and out of there with a little bit of resistance. Okay, so now that we've hold it. Check it again. A little tight. Just a hair. Again. Little loose. There we go. There's intake, 6/1000. Now we'll move up to the 10. And that's pretty tight. We got 6/1000 on the intake, 10 on the exhaust. We're all right. Now, what I'm gonna do, clean this out a little bit, and we're gonna RTV this cover back on, and then we're gonna switch over to topping the oil back up. So I just want to show you how to do that. So I'll flip camera back on in a minute. Well, rather than use RTV, I made a gasket. It's, you know, RTV is like a last resort kind of thing, you know what I mean? You don't really want to be gluing shit back onto your engine. I mean, if you got the means and the material to make a gasket, you might as well do that. So I'm gonna throw this back on and get her topped up with oil, and we're gonna give her another shot. So give me a minute.